Image prompt: a tense nighttime confrontation in a rain-slicked New York City alleyway under flickering neon lights from a nearby diner sign reading, "Last Chance." A young woman in her late 20s, with disheveled dark hair and a determined glare, stands face-to-face with a sharply dressed man in a tailored suit, his back to a chain-link fence, rain dripping from his umbrella. Her hand clutches a crumpled envelope, shadows playing across their faces to heighten the electric standoff, captured in hyper-realistic cinematic style like a frame from a gritty thriller film, emphasizing raw emotion and urban isolation without any violence. I died with ink still wet on the page, my last letter clutched in my bloodied fist like a desperate Hail Mary. No stamp, no envelope, just scrawled words spilling my guts to a man I hadn't spoken to in years, Grandpa Harlan, the oil baron who disowned my family for being too damn soft. As the life drained out of me on that cold warehouse floor, Sarah's laughter echoed like shattered glass, my best friend, the one I'd trusted with everything, twisting the knife, literally, after framing me for embezzling millions from the company we built together. But death? It was a cruel joke. A cosmic do-over that spat me back into my 25-year-old body, 5 years before the bullet, with the bitter taste of betrayal already souring my second shot at life. And that letter? In this twisted rerun, it became my loaded gun. I gasped awake in my cramped Brooklyn studio, the kind of place where the walls were thinner than my patience and the roaches threw better parties than I did. It was 2020, pre-pandemic haze hanging over the city like a bad hangover. And my reflection in the cracked bathroom mirror stared back, Elena Vasquez, wide-eyed and unbroken, with a faint scar from a childhood bike crash still faint on my cheek. But inside, I was 30, gutshot and furious, carrying the weight of a future I knew like a script I hated. The clock on my phone blinked 7:14 a.m., same as that morning I'd met Sarah at the coffee shop on Bleecker Street, the day our friendship sealed my doom. My hands shook as I rifled through the desk drawer, heart pounding like a war drum. There it was, the notebook, half filled with sketches for Vasquez Innovations, the tech startup I'd poured my soul into. Green energy apps, smart grids for underserved neighborhoods, dreams born from my mom's stories of growing up in the Bronx without heat half the winters. Sarah had waltzed in as my equal partner, all Ivy League charm and shark smiles, poaching investors while I coded through the nights. In the first timeline, she'd doctored the books, pinned the theft on me, and when the feds closed in, she'd put a bullet in me to tie up loose ends. For the greater good. Elena, she'd whispered, her face a mask of fake sorrow. Greater good my ass, it was for her daddy's old money legacy, the kind that bought silence and second chances. But not this time. I snatched at my phone, fingers flying over the keys. First call, to Marco, the sketchy accountant Sarah would later bribe. Hey, it's Elena. That audit you mentioned? Let's do it now. Today. His voice crackled with surprise. But I didn't give him room to squirm. Next. I drafted the letter, the one that had haunted my final moments. No address. Just Harlan Vasquez at the top. Words pouring out like venom. Grandpa, if you're reading this, I'm probably dead. Sarah Klein's the snake in our garden, stealing everything we built. Don't let her win. The proof's in the cloud drive, Elena_V_safe@protonmail.com. I sealed it in an envelope, scribbled his name, and dropped it in the mail slot of the post office on my way out. No return address. Let fate or the USPS gods deliver it. The coffee shop smelled like burnt ambition and overpriced lattes. Sarah was already there, perched at our usual corner table. Her blonde bob impeccable, legs crossed in those Louboutins that screamed, "I summer in the Hamptons." She waved me over with a grin that, in my old life, had blinded me to the predator beneath. "Elena,
Babe.
you look like you saw a ghost." "Rough night." I slid into the seat, forcing a smile that felt like grinding glass. "Something like that." "Listen, we need to talk about the funding round." Her eyes lit up, hook,
Line.
sinker. As she launched into her pitch about scaling aggressively, I nodded along. But my mind was a storm. In the original run, this was where she started siphoning funds into offshore accounts, using my login creds while I was buried in prototypes. I discovered it too late. After she'd charmed the board into thinking I was the unstable one, the hot-headed Latina who couldn't be trusted with the big leagues. By noon, we were in the office, a loft in Soho that still reeked of fresh paint and false hope. I cornered Marco in the supply closet, the fluorescent buzz our only witness. "I know what she's planning," I hissed, shoving a USB drive into his palm. Copies of the original ledgers, timestamps I'd memorized from my graveside epiphany. His face paled, sweat beading on his forehead. "Elena." She said it was just creative accounting. Creative my ass. "It's fraud. You help me nail her now, or I drag you down with her." He nodded, swallowing hard. "Controversial? Hell yes, blackmailing your own employee to flip on your partner. But in the game of revenge, ethics were the first casualty." That night, as Sarah texted me about girls' night at some rooftop bar, I sat alone with a bottle of cheap tequila, toasting to the woman I'd been, trusting, forgiving.
Dead.
The new Elena? She was a ghost with a grudge. And the city lights outside my window looked like targets. The first crack in Sarah's armor came 2 weeks later, at the investor mixer in a midtown penthouse that screamed old money, crystal chandeliers dripping like frozen tears, waiters gliding with trays of caviar that cost more than my rent. I'd dressed to kill. Literally, a sleek black sheath that hugged my curves without apology. Hair pulled back in a no-nonsense ponytail. No more playing the supportive sidekick. Grandpa's letter? Still en route. Or so I hoped. Tracking numbers were for amateurs. And this was personal. Sarah was in her element, schmoozing a cluster of venture capitalists, her laugh a weapon sharper than any stiletto. I watched from the bar, nursing a gin and tonic, the ice melting like my old illusions. Marco had delivered, subtle flags in the financials, enough to spook the auditors without tipping her off yet. But I needed more leverage that would shatter her facade. That's when I spotted him. Victor Klein, Sarah's father, the silver-haired ghost of Wall Street scandals past. Divorced 3 times, rumored to have buried more skeletons than a gravedigger. In my first life, he'd bankrolled her escape after my murder, pulling strings to make the tragic accident stick. I sauntered over, channeling every rom-com meet-cute I'd ever rolled my eyes at. "Mr.
Klein?
Elena Vasquez. Your daughter's saving my company single-handedly." He turned, appraising me with eyes like polished steel.
Ah.
The brains behind the operation. "Sarah speaks highly of you."
Lies.
But I played along, dropping hints about irregularities in the books, watching his jaw tighten. By the end of the night, I'd slipped him a burner phone number. For off-the-record concerns, I murmured. Controversial decision number 2, pitting father against daughter. Whispering poison in the ear of a man who'd once crashed markets for fun. But blood was thicker than loyalty.
Or so they said.
Back home, the apartment felt less like a cage and more like command central. I'd hacked my own cloud, ironic, right? Pulling every email, every Slack thread from the timeline I remembered. Sarah's betrayal wasn't born in a vacuum. It stemmed from a buried secret, one I'd carried like a millstone. 5 years from now, she'd unearth it, my mom's old affair with Harlan's business partner. A fling that produced me, the bastard grandchild he'd never acknowledged. Mom died broke and broken, whispering apologies on her deathbed for the mess I left you. Sarah had found the DNA test in my files, twisted it into blackmail fodder. You're nothing but a gold-digging imposter, she'd sneered in that warehouse. Before the shot.
But now?
I'd burned that bridge before she crossed it. The next morning, a call from an unknown number jolted me awake. Miss Vasquez? This is Harlan Vasquez's office. He received. Correspondence. Says it's urgent we meet. My pulse thundered. The letter, no address. Yet it landed like a missile.
Grandpa.
The grizzled tycoon who'd built an empire on Texas roughnecks and D.C. lobbyists, wanted to see me. In the original timeline, it arrived too late, after my obituary hit the papers, sparking a half-assed investigation that fizzled under Klein influence.
Now.
It was dynamite. We met at his Park Avenue fortress, a penthouse that made Trump's gold phase look tasteful. Harlan was a relic, leathery skin, eyes like faded denim, sitting in a leather armchair that swallowed him whole. Elena, he growled, waving the crumpled letter. You got balls writing this. Or you're crazy. I met his gaze. Unflinching. Both.
Sir.
Sarah's bleeding us dry. And there's more, you and me?
We're blood.
Mom told me everything before she went. His face cracked. Just a flicker. But it was enough. The secret spilled, the affair, the disownment, the guilt that had pickled him for decades. I thought keeping distance protected you, he muttered. But that girl's poison. By lunch, he was wiring seed money, enough to buy out Sarah's shares without a board vote. Controversial? Offering equity to a ghost from the past, dredging up family dirt that could tank reputations. But Harlan laughed. A rusty sound. Family's messy.
Girl.
That's how we win. As I left, his parting shot. Watch your back. Klein's play dirty. Understatement of the century. Sarah sensed the shift like a shark smells blood. Our next strategy session turned into an interrogation. What's with the glow-up? Elena? New investor? Her smile didn't reach her eyes. I leaned in, voice honeyed venom. Just tying up loose ends. You know how that goes. That night, my phone buzzed with Victor's text, document sent. She's deeper in than I thought. Attachments, bank transfers, shell companies, all time-stamped to her laptop. The noose was tightening, and I savored every twist. But revenge is a bitch that bites back. Dreams plagued me, flashes of the warehouse. Sarah's face morphing into Mom's. Accusing. Was I becoming the monster?
No.
This was justice. American style, cutthroat, unapologetic, with a side of manifest destiny. As October's chill seeped into the city, I prepped for the board meeting that would be her Waterloo. Little did I know, the twist was just uncoiling. November hit New York like a sucker punch, gray skies bleeding into endless rain, mirroring the storm brewing in my veins. The board meeting loomed, A coliseum where empires rose or crumbled on PowerPoint slides and backroom deals. I'd spent nights fortifying my arsenal, Harlan's funds secured, Marco's testimony locked in, Victor's docs encrypted on a drive that could fell governments. Sarah, oblivious or arrogant, pushed for expansion, new hires, overseas offices, all smoke to mask the siphoning. We're on the cusp. Elena, she'd coo during our forced coffee runs. Don't go soft on me now.
Soft.
The word ignited something primal. In my first life, I'd been soft, forgiving her stress-induced oversights, blaming myself for the red flags.
Now,
every concession was calculated. I started documenting everything, her late-night emails from consultants that traced to Cayman Islands IPs, the way she'd cornered junior devs for loyalty tests. Controversial move 3. I leaked a sanitized version to a tech blogger, framing it as internal drama without names. The article dropped midweek. Vasquez Innovations. Innovation or implosion? And shares dipped just enough to rattle her. She confronted me in the ladies' room, heels clicking like gunfire. This you're doing? Sabotaging us. I washed my hands slowly, meeting her reflection. Us? Funny. I don't remember you when the feds kicked in the door. Her eyes widened. Did I slip?
no,
Just a ghost of a threat. She laughed it off. But the seed was planted.
doubt.
That most American of sins began to fester. Harlan became an unlikely anchor. Our weekly dinners at his club, stuffy with cigar smoke and whispers of insider trades, felt like therapy laced with conspiracy. Your ma was fire. Elena, he'd reminisce over scotch neat. Fought me tooth and nail on that rig deal in '95. You got her spark. He'd greenlit a private investigator. A grizzled ex-cop named Ruiz who dug into Sarah's past like it was a cold case. Turns out, the buried secret ran deeper. Her perfect resume? Falsified. A junior exec at her dad's firm scapegoated for a SEC violation she'd orchestrated. And me? She'd targeted Vasquez because of the Harlan connection, intel from Victor's drunken ramblings. She wanted to own you, Ruiz grunted over burner phones. Break the Vasquez line. Claim the throne. The revelation hit like vertigo. My death wasn't random. It was dynastic warfare. Klein's versus Vasquez's in a shadow feud dating back to oil busts and boardroom coups. I confronted Victor at a neutral spot, a dimly lit oyster bar in the village, armed with Ruiz's prelim report. You knew, I accused, sliding the folder across the scarred oak table. He didn't flinch, just swirled his martini. Sarah's ambitious. Like her mother. Ambition. Code for sociopathy in boardrooms. Help me stop her, or I go public. Your scandals. Her fraud front page. Every Sunday. He leaned in, breath sour with olives. And if I do, what's in it for me?
Greed.
The great equalizer. I offered silence. A cut of Harlan's next deal, controversial as hell. Bartering integrity for alliance. By dawn. He'd agreed. Testify at the board. Flip the script. Father devouring daughter. Shakespeare would blush. As Thanksgiving approached, tension coiled like a spring. Sarah invited me to her family's Hamptons estate. Tradition?
Babe.
Bring that fire. I went. A wolf in wool. The letters echo in my pocket like a talisman. The Klein Manse was Gatsby on steroids, manicured lawns dusted with early frost, a turkey the size of a linebacker. Victor played the gracious host, but his eyes darted, sweat beading under the collar. Sarah. radiant in cashmere, clinked glasses. To family, she toasted. I echoed it, throat tight. Family, the blade that cuts deepest. That night, as rain lashed the windows, I slipped into her study. Password? Her childhood dog's name, pathetic. Files galore, my DNA test, annotated with vicious notes. Leverage, dissonant threat to Harlan. And deeper, emails to a hitman contact, predating my death by months. Chills raced my spine. She'd planned it from the start. I snapped photos, heart hammering, and ghosted out just as footsteps echoed. Back in the city, paranoia set in. Was I watched? My old life flashed, the tail on my subway rides, the accidental car swerves. I doubled down, armed myself with pepper spray, varied routes, even slept with a knife under the pillow. Harlan noticed, pulling me aside post-dinner. This ain't just business.
Is it?
I confessed fragments, the warehouse vision. The rebirth I cloaked as premonition. He stared, then chuckled darkly. Vasquez curse, seeing ghosts before they bite. He handed me a snub-nosed revolver, oiled and heavy. Welcome to the family, kid. The board meeting dawned crisp and lethal. Suits filed in, tension thick as fog. Sarah presented first, all gloss and graphs. But cracks showed, investors shifting, whispers rippling. My turn. I projected the docs. Victor's voice piping in via video link. As a concerned stakeholder, her face drained of color. Accusations flying. This is forgery. Elena's framing me. Chaos erupted, shouts. Calls for adjournments. I stood firm, the revolver's weight in my purse a silent vow. But as security escorted her out, screaming epithets in Spanish she'd picked up from me. Irony twisted, the betrayer betrayed, yet her eyes held no remorse. Only rage. Pure. Unfiltered. Little did I know, the real hook was barbed, waiting to reel me in. December's grip on the city was iron-fisted, icicles stabbing from fire escapes. Holiday lights mocking the chill in my bones. Sarah's ousting made headlines. Tech darlings fall from grace. Embezzlement allegations rock Vasquez innovations. Pundits dissected it on CNBC, labeling her a fallen wunderkind, me the resilient underdog. Resilient. If only they knew the half, the grave dirt still under my nails. The echo of that unsent letter rewriting fates. With her gone, the company stabilized. Harlan's infusion breathing life into stalled projects. I hired ethical replacements, a CFO from a nonprofit, devs from community colleges, flipping the script on the old boys club. Nights blurred into code sprints and victory toasts. But victory tasted hollow. Dreams morphed, not just death, but alternate endings, me pulling the trigger. Sarah's blood on my hands. Was rebirth a gift or a curse? Controversial whispers nagged. Had I gone too far? Leaking to the press bordered on defamation, strong-arming Victor. Extortion light. But in America's meritocracy myth, winners wrote the rules. Ruiz's final report dropped like a Yuletide bomb. Sarah wasn't done. From her no-bail limbo, facing wire fraud charges, she'd lawyered up with her dad's cronies, spinning a counter-narrative. Victim of workplace harassment, the filings claimed, painting me as the jealous rival. Unstable, with questionable parentage. The DNA bomb, weaponized. Reporters swarmed my building. Mics thrust like bayonets. MS. Vasquez. Is it true you're Harlan's illegitimate heir? Did that motivate the frame job? I barricaded, Harlan raging via speakerphone. Let me bury em in countersuits. But I saw the play. Drag it out. Bleed the company dry in legal fees. Force a settlement.
No.
Time for the climax. The revenge I'd scripted in limbo. I called Victor. Voice steel. She's using you as bait. Testify for real. Or I drop your SEC dirt to the Times. Silence. Then a sigh. You're as ruthless as she is. Ruthless. The mirror word. Difference is, I fight fair until they don't. Christmas Eve. I met Sarah in a neutral hellhole, a Rikers visitor's room. Plexiglass Berlin wall. She looked diminished, hair limp, orange jumpsuit clashing with her porcelain skin, but her eyes burned. You bitch, she spat. Receiver trembling. How'd you know? The books. The letter. It's like you read the future. I leaned close, breath fogging the divide. I did. Saw you pull the trigger.
Sarah.
Felt the bullet. This. I tapped the glass. Mercy. Lies blended truth. Her confusion was exquisite. She ranted, betrayal's litany, her dad's neglect, the pressure to eclipse. How I'd been too pure to see the game. We could have shared it all. Harlan's empire. The company, sisters in sin.
Sisters.
The word curdled. You chose the knife, I countered. Now choke on it. As guards hauled her away, she hurled the twist. Ask your precious grandpa about the rig explosion in '98. Mom's affair? It wasn't just a fling. He covered it up. Workers died. Elena. You're built on bones. The room spun. Harlan. Complicit? The secret. Layered like onion skin over lies. I confronted him New Year's Day, storming his penthouse amid confetti fallout. The explosion, what the hell? Grandpa. Documents splayed. Ruiz's addendum. Whistleblower scraps. His face crumpled. Aged decades in minutes. Oil life sturdy.
Kid.
That partner, your ma's lover, he cut corners. Blowout killed 5. I hushed it to save the company. And her. Saved her by marrying the rival's widow? The affair tangled into corporate espionage. Harlan's protection, a web of payoffs and silenced tongues.
Me?
Collateral. The living reminder scrubbed from ledgers. Betrayal echoed. Fractal, Sarah's knife mirrored Harlan's omissions. I wanted to walk, torch the inheritance. The company. My rebirth. But walking was weakness. The old Elena's sin. Controversial apex. I stayed. But on my terms. We expose it. I demanded. Clean slate. Or I'm out. He nodded. Broken. Your call. Firebrand. The climax crested in a federal courtroom. January's frost sealing the exits. Sarah's trial. Me testifying. Victor crumbling on the stand. Spilling decades of Klein grime. Harlan followed. Voice gravel. The explosion was my sin. But Sarah's? Pure malice. Juries love redemption arcs. She got 22 life. No parole. As the gavel fell, our eyes locked, hers hollow, mine steel. Victory. Pyrrhic and pure. But twists don't end with bars slamming. That night, a package arrived, my letter, returned undelivered, stamped insufficient address. Fate's joke? Or sign the real change was internal, forged in fire. Spring thawed the city, cherry blossoms mocking winter scars. But my thaw was slower, layers of grudge peeling to reveal raw nerve. Vasquez innovations thrived, Green tech grants pouring in. Board diverse as the boroughs. Me at the helm. No longer haunted but hunted by what-ifs. Harlan faded into advisory shadows. His confession a ghost we buried deeper than the rig workers. Redemption's a long con, he'd mutter over chess. Night taking pawn like old sins. I forgave. Or tried. Family's the ultimate controversy. Bonds forged in blood money. Sarah's appeals dragged. Tabloids feasting on tech sirens' lament. Letters from her cell trickled in first vitriol. Then please, we were pawns. Elena. Victor played us both. I burned them. But one stuck, a photo of us at 22. Arms, linked post-graduation. Smiles unscarred. Sisters in sin? Maybe. Her twist lingered, the explosion's ghosts demanding justice. I greenlit a fund, anonymous, for rig widows' kin. Harlan matched it, grumbling. Soft heart, hard head. Like your ma. Rebirth's rhythm settled into normalcy's trap. Dates fizzled, trust a casualty. Men's sensing the armor. Nights. I'd trace the scar. Wondering, was this life mine? Or just Act Two? The letter. That addressless arrow. Sat framed on my desk, a talisman of chaos theory. How one scribble rerouted rivers. Climax's echo came unbidden. Summer swelter. A parole hearing. Early release dangled for model behavior. Victor lobbied. Guilt his new chain. I testified again. Voice steady. She planned my murder. Mercy was the cage. Freedom's the gun. Judge denied. But her glare through the feed? Promise of sequels. As if death loops were infinite. Twist's true barb hooked in autumn. Leaves flaming like warnings. A DNA retake, Curiosity's curse, confirmed Harlan's blood. But unearthed more. Mom's lover. The cut corner exec. Wasn't just paramour. He was whistleblower. Silenced not by Harlan, but Victor's precursor firm. Klein's engineered the cover-up, framing Vasquez for leverage in a merger war. My birth? Bait in a decade's chess. Sarah hadn't lied. She'd inherited the board. Rage reignited, but tempered. I could have sued. Scorched earth, controversial endgame. Toppling dynasties. Instead, I called Victor. Truth for truce. We dismantle the old guard together. He agreed. Voice weary. Tired of ghosts. Joint expose. Op-ed in the Times. Empire of lies. How two families built fortunes on forgotten graves. Stocks dipped. Probes launched. But Phoenix rose. Vasquez-Klein hybrid. Ethical overhaul. Reparations fund ballooning. Ending? No tidy bow. Harlan passed that winter. Scotch in hand. Whispering, "You fixed what I broke. Kid." Sarah remained caged. Her letters shifting to philosophy. Revenge is a mirror. Elena. What do you see? I saw me, scarred. Sovereign.
Second-chanced.
As 2025 dawned, I stood on that Bleecker Street corner. Coffee steaming. No Sarah in sight. The city pulsed horns. Hustlers. Hope's undercurrent. Death's reset wasn't erasure, it was edit. Cuts and pastes forging something fiercer. My last letter? Framed reminder. Chaos delivers. If you dare send it blind. And in the mirror of rain-puddled streets, Elena Vasquez grinned back. Alive. Unbroken. Unapologetic.